Hey, it's Faith Friday time. I'm Pastor Eli, and I know I haven't done one of these in quite a while, so I hope that you still remember kind of what our format is. I want to share with you something today that will encourage you, but also to equip you to better grow in your faith, as well as grow in your ability to get along with others and get along with God. Because yes, apparently that is something that is still relevant today. Getting along with others and getting along with God is something we need to learn how to do. Maybe especially that first part, getting along with others. If you're like me, chances are you've noticed by now that not everybody online gets along. And on top of that, nobody seems to want to change their minds about anything. It seems that we've reached this point in human history where you have different sides, and whatever side you're on that side, and that's how you feel about it. Nobody's going to change your mind no matter what kind of evidence is thrown at you. This could apply to a number of things, from politics to our views on healthcare, to our views on immigration, to our views even now on wearing masks. Yes, even that, because apparently masks have become politically charged. So congratulations, humanity, we have reached a new low. It's really easy to point to social media as the cause for all of this, and although I think that it has exacerbated the situation, I really don't think that the culprit for this polarization is social media or the internet, or even the president for that matter. I think all of those things have highlighted something that already exists deep within us. And evidence that I have for that is the Bible. The Bible has lots to say on how we should behave in polarizing situations, how we should behave in situations with other people that we don't agree with. That tells me, at least as a Bible-believing Christian, that the reality is God knows very well that we can be very stubborn. I'm not just saying this from my personal opinion about the Bible. I think it's worth noting also that Jesus understood this human condition in the fact that Jesus didn't teach stubbornness, but instead he taught humility. He taught that erring on the side of mercy for each other is the default for the Christian. He taught that we should be open to dialogue. Jesus never shut down anyone when he was talking to them. He didn't fight with them. He didn't shut them down. He didn't name call them. With a few exceptions to the times that he called the Pharisees hypocrites and venomous vipers for the way that they treated others, but that wasn't him arguing as much as he was condemning them. And so when Jesus actually got into a dialogue with someone, Jesus actually took time, from what we can see from the Bible authors, actually took time to listen to what the other person was saying, even when he already knew that they were completely wrong. Jesus always treated everyone with respect and with lots of love. When I was going in to be a pastor, I knew that I was going to see the worst in people. I also anticipated I'd get to see the best in people, but man, do you really get to see what people are like underneath the facade of a smile and the happy Sabbath and the handshakes in church, especially when you take all of those things away. If the coronavirus has done anything, it's done that. It's taken all of that away, and now you get to see down to the core what people are really like behind those facades. And I'll tell you what, it's not very pretty. I see that a lot of the division that we see online and what we see offline is very much motivated by maliciousness and by a desire to be right, a desire to be correct. As Christians, I think that our motivation for the way that we behave in the world and in society should never be motivated by owning the libs or owning the far right. It should never be about where we stand in our society. It should be in where we stand in relationship to God. And so that's why I think it's very unfortunate that sometimes the way that we stand on an issue is heavily motivated by what our political party or religious affiliation says that we need to be. What's worse is a lot of the conflicts that we see, and this isn't just online, this is especially in the church, in any church that you go to. If you're new to the church or you haven't been to a church in a long time, I have bad news for you. Nothing has changed. People are still absolutely terrible to each other. That's to be expected, because where the Spirit is working, the devil is hard at work as well. That being said, we need to be careful that we don't do things out of conceit. Conceit is where you're so sure that you're right that you start treating an opposing idea with a self-satisfied and dismissive attitude. That's to say, we see what somebody else is saying, and because we've already made up our minds that they're wrong, we come at it with this attitude that, well, they're obviously wrong, so why even continue listening? This is a waste of my time, and you're just taking up precious oxygen that I'm trying to breathe. We approach a lot of our arguments and our differences, even when we don't argue, just in the different lifestyles that we lead, we often do it with conceit, with this very arrogant attitude that I'm right and you're obviously wrong. That's not how God wants us to live. As an evidence of that, especially in God's church, Philippians 2:3 says that we should do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility, counting one another, counting other people as more important or more smart or more intelligent than we are. How does approaching masks, for example, or the absence of masks, as being an issue of, well, I'm right and you're obviously stupid for wearing or not wearing one, is that the attitude that Philippians 2:3 is teaching us? And pardon me for using such a time-sensitive issue to talk about it, but that's the reality, friend. Behind all of the discussions and arguments that we're having is this attitude, an attitude of conceit. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others as more than yourself. So we need to be careful not to be stubborn. I hope that this passage, as painful as it might be for some, will help us to grow. And don't be stubborn. Don't apply this to someone else. Apply it to yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's too easy to say, that's right, those people need to hear about that. We need to hear about that too, you and me. So here's something I know not very many of you are going to do. So it's a challenge. If you do it, good for you. There might even be a prize. In the comments below, leave me an example of something we can do better in being humble, in counting other people more than us, especially when they believe differently than we do. Before we go, I want to leave you with just a cautionary Bible verse, just something just so we remember what's at stake here. Proverbs 29:1 says, "He who is often reproved yet stiffens his neck will suddenly be broken beyond healing." This is a warning that the Bible gives, not as a curse or as a threat, but as a warning, saying, be careful, because when we become too stubborn beyond the point of flexibility, we can be broken in ways that can't be fixed. And I believe that God wishes for all of us, even in matters of spirituality, and especially in every other matter, that we be very open and receptive to hearing what other people have to say, because the way that we act when we are dialoguing with others and when other people even are arguing with us speaks a lot about the God that we serve. So I hope that you are blessed this evening. Please enjoy the Sabbath. Please enjoy the weekend. Whatever you're doing, stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week for another Faith Friday. Bye-bye.